Hey folks, Stu Morris here, curator of America's Packard Museum. We're back with another video. This time we're talking about a 1910 Packard Model 18. This car is interesting in its construction and execution, and is an excellent example of a brass era car. However, personally, I think this car represents Packard finally hitting its stride. To fully discuss the Model 18, we have to look at its origins. The year was 1905, and the Packard Motor Car Company began creating a new prototype car in the cold winter months. The factory team would name that car Gasoline Gus. Gus would be the test mule for their new model, with engineers running it day and night to stress all of its weak points, and running it between Detroit and Chicago several times before the car was ready for the public in August of 1906. That new car was the Packard Model 30. The Model 30 was kept secret until all previous models could be sold, as company head Henry B. Joy knew how successful it could be. Packard had truly figured out how to build a complex quality car, and did so while being on production schedule, not to mention while the factory itself would grow from 100,000 square feet in 1906 to nearly 600,000 square feet by 1910. And keep in mind, they were barely making one Model F a day just 5 years earlier in Warren. So what is the Model 18 then? Well, simply put, it's a slightly smaller version of the Model 30. You see, by the summer of 1908, Packard was doing so well that they need a slightly cheaper car. The Model 18 was $3,200 when it came out, while the Model 30 was $4,200. And the odd thing, they cost the exact same amount to produce. They had the same amount of parts, they had the same amount of features. So why did Packard build a car that was priced lower that cost them the same amount to make? Simply put, they could, and they were making money on it. Aesthetically speaking, it is not hard to understand why this Model 18 is considered to be in the brass era. It has brass everywhere, from the acetylene-powered headlamps to the side lamps, not to mention the radiator. What is also present is a significant amount of nickel plating, and if you watched our last video, you will note it takes a good amount to keep all of this shiny all of the time. Power comes from a 265.7 cubic inch T-head 4-cylinder, producing 18 horsepower at 650 RPM. And yes, they were painted and plated this way from the factory, as the engine was easily the most impressive thing on the car for the time. At this point in the video, careful viewers might be like, wait a minute, 18, isn't that what this car is called? And isn't that awfully low for a horsepower figure? And well, you'd be right on both parts. In the early days of automotive manufacturing, the Association of Licensed Automobile Manufacturers, or ALAM, used this formula to create a standard of engine horsepower that was based just off of engine size, not actual engine performance. Packard got rid of this for actual dyno horsepower and made 18 horsepower, hence the Model 18. This naming theme was a pretty common practice for the automotive industry at the time. However, I have personally seen a Packard Model 30 that was on a wheel dyno that produced 50 horsepower and 200 foot-pounds of torque. Now that might have something to do with modern fuel, modern ignition, modern dyno, or a combination of all of those things. As far as driver controls go, you've got your clutch, your brake, and center throttle. Have a handbrake, and a 3-speed sliding transmission that goes from first, second, third, and over to reverse. These are for your oil pressure. If these are dripping, you have oil at your front and rear main bearings. If they're not dripping, you do not have oil. You have a clock and a speedometer. On the steering wheel, you have spark control that you must constantly change while starting and driving the car, and throttle that is connected to the throttle pedal. And of course, none of the lights are electric. They all run off of some type of fuel. And in the case of these, they run off of acetylene. And of course, no brass era car is complete without a bulb horn. Despite Packard ramping up its production capabilities, they still only built a relatively small number of cars per year in the first decade of the 20th century. The total production of Model 18s for 1910 was a mere 766. The production run was from model years 1909 to 1912 and was phased out in favor of Packard's new Big Six, a car that dwarfed even the Model 30 in every way. According to the Packard Club, out of the 766 Model 18s that were built for the model year of 1910, only 11 still exist. Personally, I think that this car's legacy is that of an automotive giant that knew how to walk and was learning how to run. I often think that the brass era is overlooked in favor of the classic era, which I think is understandable. However, anybody that has time to spend with one of these automobiles or own one could really fall in love with how simple yet elegant the mechanics are, and really appreciate how far we've come. Thank you for spending time with us today. I want to give special thanks to the Gilmore Car Museum for allowing us to borrow such a rare and unique vehicle, something that was missing from our collection and is a big part of the Packard timeline. Again, my name is Stu Morris for America's Packard Museum. Thank you for watching.